Hi everyone, I'm Joel Baird, the General Manager of Missoula Community Access Television. Thanks for taking the time to learn a little bit about this City Council race coming up. I wanted to encourage you to vote and tell you that it's a mail-in ballot race. The ballots are going out on October the 16th. So if you don't receive a ballot in the mail by October 20th, let's say, please contact the Missoula County Elections Office. I've got a number here you can call if you say, where's my mail-in ballot? The number is 531-4026. Or you can go online, as you saw at the opening of this clip, and that's missoulacounty.us and then /elections. And they'll let you know what ward you happen to be in. They'll let you know what may become of your mail-in ballot if you don't receive it. Well, right now, Heidi West is gracing the MCAT studio. Welcome, and thank you for taking the time, Heidi.
Thanks for having me.
You're most welcome. So everyone who agreed to participate in our little look at the candidates were sent the same questions, and I'm going to ask the same questions of each candidate. And here's your first one. And it's a little different for you as an incumbent, but here it is. What has inspired you to seek office?
Well, since I'm currently in office already, I'll go back 4 years.
Right, I guess.
Yeah, so I live on the north side on Turner Street, and I happen to live down the street from White Pine Sash, which used to be a state Superfund site. It's in the process of being cleaned up right now. And I guess about 4.5 years ago, a record of decision was brought out by the DEQ that cleaned it up to a commercial level, which many of us that lived close by didn't feel was good enough, because it is a residential neighborhood and it's, you know, pretty much the largest piece of undeveloped land that's left in Missoula. It's super close to downtown and super accessible to the rest of the community. And so we banded together and ran a social media campaign and did letter writing and, you know, really it was just a groundswell of neighborhood activism. And through that process, I met Jason Weiner and Brian von Lossberg, who was new to council at that point.
Right.
And it was, I think, actually Brian's first first resolution that he brought to council when he was a beginning city council person, that our council was in support of a residential level cleanup. And it's just this really empowering moment where as citizens we had a voice and our local government supported us, and as a result of that, the DEQ actually changed its record of decision, and part of it is being cleaned up to a residential level.
Which is a darn good thing, because if people know what we're talking about here, they just build a whole bunch of houses to the north of this site.
Exactly. And housing obviously is an issue. It's more of an issue than it was 4 years ago. And I think that allowed the opportunity for me to consider doing something I hadn't really ever considered. At the time, I was a stay-at-home mom. We had food stamps. We were really low income, and I realized that a lot of people like me weren't being represented. And when somebody asked me if I was interested in running for council, my answer wasn't no. Right. And so I took a moment to think about it and felt like I had a voice that wasn't currently represented, but also that I had the community support and the connections and the passion for my neighborhood and the rest of my ward to take that leap of faith. So here I am doing it again.
Oh my gosh. And this time around, Segue, how have you campaigned?
Fairly similarly. So knocking on doors, reaching out to folks I know. I think this time around, obviously, I have 4 years behind me and, 4 years of a voting record and things that people that they're either aware of already because it's something that's important to them as well, but also just things people can look back at. And so, see if I'm their person.
Right.
So I'm hoping my record speaks for itself. So.
And when you were campaigning, that's the other question. What have you learned along the way, like knocking on doors or being in forums and hearing questions? Like anything surprise you this time, Al?
No, I think I think people, housing is a big issue for people. I think it's especially an issue for folks who, maybe suddenly that rental they've rented for 10 years and is getting sold out from under them. It's the first time that they're having to look at the housing market, and it's changed a lot. So I think housing is an issue for folks on pretty much any affordability scale. There's not very many options, and then the less resources you have, the harder it is. But it's not surprising.
Right.
I think we all feel very similar pressures in this community. Maybe some of us, are in different spectrums of how hard that pressure is affecting the rest of our lives. But Missoula is an awesome place to be, and with that, there's a lot of competition. So.
To be here.
To be here, right?
Right.
To make it home. So,
Oh.
yeah.
And we've heard that quite a bit. I've heard that quite a bit this morning.
Yeah.
Housing affordability.
Well, and I'd have to say the other thing I've heard a lot, depending on what part of the neighborhood I'm in, is worries about things like traffic, because there is a lot of development going into different parts of my ward, and that does have a big impact on, how traffic moves and pedestrian safety. And
Right, because your ward has the Orange Street underpass will get you there.
Yeah.
The Scott Street overpass will get you there, but...
Well, and the Rattlesnake is pretty constricted too.
Yeah.
So pretty much all of the neighborhoods maybe have one or two ways in and out of it,
Yeah.
Which is something to be aware of. So.
A Ward 1 concern.
For sure.
What is the biggest challenge you want to help Missoulians overcome?
Oh, so I think that we have to be very proactive in Missoula. We are geographically constrained.
Yeah.
There aren't very many places you can build or go, and I think that impacts a lot of things. That impacts affordable housing. It impacts how we build out our infrastructure network. But as we're looking to the future, the reality is we're likely to absorb a lot of population up here in the Northwest, especially as other parts of our country are going to be experiencing impacts from climate change that maybe make their parts of the country unlivable or less livable. And I think here in Montana, we're pretty lucky of where we are. We aren't going to have sea levels taking over our, homes.
3,200 feet up. Let's
right?
hope not.
I'd hope not too. We're not in the desert. We have less water than other places, but we're not, as dry as other parts of the country. And so I think we are going to be seeing even more population gain than we currently are. And I think just making sure that we're planning for growth in a way that's sustainable is huge. So I think that's really important.
What are some of the great opportunities City Council can help Missoulians realize?
So I think one thing that's important to remember is that we are basically a policy creating body. We create policy, and in many ways we also set intention and tone. And I think that there are many, many things that the groundwork's been laid for, whether it's our zero waste goals or our clean electricity goals, but also our, the housing policy that just came out this summer. I think we've laid some really great groundwork, and by we I don't necessarily mean just council. I mean all of the members in our community that have been working so hard on these issues. And I think we are in a position where we can really put some of those things into practice, like create policy that reaches those goals, but also to support our partners that are doing the on-the-ground work in the community. And with all three of those, we are at some really exciting crossroads. So we'll see what happens.
An interesting time to be alive. That's what they say. Oh my gosh, we're already up to closing remarks of your choice. This is your free form.
My
you can do whatever you want with.
Well, I think that when I ran for council 4 years ago,